Thank you for joining us. This is Live with Miami's Community News. And in the next 15 minutes, we're going to talk about health and fitness for people over the age of 50. Not that I'm in that category.
No, at all.
All right, not at all. All right. So you are a certified master trainer.
Yes.
I just want to know that master, that means that you've earned the right to work with older people, or is that just the level of
it just involves a little bit more curriculum than your traditional certified personal trainer. So there's a lot more categories that come into play when achieving that designation.
And all those things are pretty important. Let's talk about some of the injuries or soreness that people over the age of 50 get, where people that are 30 don't get.
Yeah, so it's a completely different dynamic. So what most people don't understand is, as we age, the recovery comes into play completely different. So you're not going to recover from a specific exercise that you did in your 20s the same way that you're doing in your 60s. It's not going to happen. It's just the way our bodies just it's just the way our bodies are designed. Now, with that, we have to put into consideration certain factors. As we age, our hormones change. As we age, recovery process change. So with, understanding the, my God, I completely lost my train of thought. I wasn't expecting this.
That's okay.
Edit this when you get it.
So let's talk about, I used to run marathons a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I ran 20 miles. I ran 20 miles and went home and I mowed the yard. I went, oh, this is great. Took a shower, went out to dinner. It was like perfect. And so now when I go to try to do those things, even though,
I know.
It's been a while. Oh, no. I figured out, when I work in the yard, every hour I play in the yard, I figure it's a couple of hours, maybe 2.5 or 3 hours of recovery just to get where I was prior to that.
Yeah. So you have to understand the individual. When we're training someone, I have to have constant feedback from them, right? I always tell them, look, put the ego aside, especially for a lot of the guys that just like, no, I used to do this. I could do this. So I really have to make that determination whether or not they can continue with that specific activity safely. And with most cases, sometimes I have to protect the client from themselves.
I was in a spin class a couple of years ago, and it was, I can do this. As soon as I got off the bike, I knew that my Achilles heel was screwed.
On fire.
All right. It was burning. As soon as I got off, the endorphins wore off immediately. And there I was limping for months. All right. Because I got caught up in the moment. There are 20, 30 people in the room. The girls looking better than ever before. All right. Fortunately, the lights were sort of dim.
That happens.
But when I knew when I was doing it, wow, this is great. And I didn't feel any pain right then. But the cost of not having somebody there with me was expensive. All right. Very emotionally, physically. Forget the money part. It was overwhelming. And I remember like it was yesterday.
And you see that. It's very common. Unfortunately, sometimes physically we're one way, but our minds think we're 20, 30 years younger. I used to do this. I can still do this. So it's very important as a professional. We have to acknowledge this. And sometimes I get into little headbutts with clients and I tell them, listen, remember, I am here to protect you from you. And they realize, they're like, okay. I'll listen because, again, you're the professional and you're here to guide me through this activity safely. So that's always
the mind is willing, but the body's not.
It happens in most cases, especially the ones that were very active or the ones that were highly competitive in their younger years.
So when you're lifting weights and the coach is there, helping you lift it up, no, I got it. And then if you're not going all the way up by yourself, you're going to pay the consequences.
Oh, you can tell. I mean, I've seen many things. Obviously, the movement patterns change. You actually foresee these injuries before they even happen in most cases, because when you've seen this so many times, it's very common. One of the ones that I've been known to stop many times is the passing out. So, for instance, you have relatively new clients that back then they were really active and they haven't trained for years, and they want to be pushed. You can see that they have that drive, and I tell them, okay, stop. And you can kind of see it in their eyes that it's not going to go right in the next couple minutes. So I've literally have had people, listen, have a seat, sit down. because you're about to pass out. And they're just like, how do you even know? Because I can tell. I have seen this enough. And that's always one thing you want to be mindful of, is if you're not constantly looking at a client, if you're not constantly attentive to their movement patterns, the last thing you need is someone to fall, hit their head, and then you have other problems.
Yes. So again, so part of it is the person that hasn't worked out for a while needs some guidance in there, because they'll default on the last thing they remember, right? Which is, oh yeah, I used to go do whatever it is.
Yeah.
So as a professional, how do you walk somebody through that? Yes, I know this is what you want, but why don't we take it a step at a time?
Yeah, it's really understanding their goals and objective, because everybody has a different type of goal and objective. It's not just going to the gym and training and lifting weights. It's not. You have to understand, how are you going to formulate a proper program if it's going to be a cardio component, endurance component, a strength session, a high intensity interval session. Do they have underlying issues? Do they have high blood pressure, cholesterol, things that you can actually fine tune specific exercises to help them in these processes?
So we've been writing and creating news and storytelling for a long time.
Yeah.
And one of the things we know, if the story is too long, people look at the beginning and the end, they go, oh, this is, 3,000 words. I'm not going to read it. All right.
Right.
So how do you put together a program for somebody so that they're not going to go, I can't think 3 months out. I need to think for next week and the week after.
Well, typically what I do is the following. I tell them that I'm not going to throw the kitchen sink at them, right? Because there's so many components. There's the nutritional aspect of it, the programming design, the mental aspect. How are you going to mentally design something so somebody stays engaged and motivated? So all these different factors that come into play, I always tell them, listen, don't think, walk in through the door. That's all you have to do. The less they have to think, then the easier it is for them. Walk in through the door and we take care of the rest behind the scenes. If you want to know what's happening behind the scenes, absolutely. Let's discuss. And I can tell you everything and all the moving parts to that.
In marathon training, there was an injury-free running program.
Yeah.
You run for whatever period of time, then you walk. Run for a little, and everybody can do that. And the things that I used to like about that, run it or walk at the speed that you're okay with. Not at the speed of somebody else. And
Yeah.
break it up into groups, make sure you didn't get into the fast group or the slow group or whatever it happened to be, the group that was for you. Most of the time it was if you got in the group that was too fast, you immediately said, oh, this is too much, I'm going to cut back. So tell us a bit about yourself, where you went to school and how you chose this field.
Yeah, so I've been doing this now for 20 years. Coincidentally, I was in a finance career as I was doing this. So I worked in various banks and institutions in the early part of my career. Now, back in 2012, I decided to make the shift. I made the shift and I left the banking world and went 100% into the fitness world. What I've noticed is, and what I think is probably one of the most important aspects, is how do we align the same behaviors and aspects that I've seen in the business world to what people are doing in their health and wellness. There's so many individuals that I deal with on a day-to-day basis that are highly successful. They're successful in terms of business, in terms of what they're doing on a day-to-day basis with their actions and behaviors. And what I've done is utilize this and actually make them become aware of using these behaviors to translate it into their selves, because they're lacking health. They're lacking so many other aspects in their wellness. And I'm telling them it's not hard. It's a matter of doing exactly what you're doing, just shifting it over with the same behaviors towards your health and wellness. And then they make the connection, which amplifies on what we try to do.
So Omar, we know in the last 18 months, because of COVID, there's been a lot of depression and anxiety and grief.
Big time.
And people are sort of like, disrupted. Their lives are disrupted. And the younger they are, the bigger impact it's been by virtue that it's such a huge part of their life. A 10-year-old now, right? 120 months of their life. And this has been 15% of that, more or less.
Yeah, and you really don't realize that, but you're right.
So when clients come to you, all right, you watch them go through the phase of, all right, I think I need to do that, and then to watch them grow and feel better.
Oh no, when clients come to me, the most important thing is really understanding them, the why, right? We're trying to uncover what's under the sheets, right? Because they come to me and they say, hey, I want to lose weight, or I'm having a lot of issues, mental, mental health, right? Mental health is huge right now with COVID. I've had that as well. And there's not a one-off solution. You have to stop, think, have that conversation with the client, and understand what is under those sheets. What is the why? What is the driver? Once you understand that driver, then I could really start to kind of formulate my training principles. Now, what are my training principles? Number one is the mental aspect. It takes about 3 to 4 weeks to really understand and get ingrained psychologically those behaviors that people start to align it with their physical aspect of it. Again, I said it before, 50% nutrition, 50% mindset, 25% nutrition, 25 exercise. If neither or are in the mix, you're not going to achieve full success in what we're trying to accomplish.
So somebody comes to you and they go, listen, I'm old, I'm this, I'm that, I'm depressed, I can't do any exercise because of arthritis or whatever it happens to be. What do you do with somebody like that?
We start it slow. I always start with this. This is one of the most important sayings that I have said for a long time, and I take it to heart. You come hungry, you leave hungry. So even though if I know that you can do more, I will stop it and you will leave wanting more. So it's a psychological play that I do. So the next time the client is back wanting to be pushed more. And it's this constant repetitive behavior that we do. And then you see little by little, it starts to create this habit that solidifies over time. You come hungry, but you still leave hungry when it comes to your training principles when you first start out.
There was a restaurant that I would go to every day for breakfast. It took me 3 months to stop going there. Once I decided, because I had formed relationships that were there. Hi, Michael, how are you?
Yeah.
Okay, and it was there. And then finally, I said, okay, I'm gonna 1 day a week less. I'm gonna go there. Now I just go 1 day a week. All right, and it's like it's good. All right,
Right.
And I was able to go do something else. But I thought of all the reasons that I went there. The food had nothing to do with it. That was just sort of incidental.
Yeah.
It's a place to hang out, a place to do stuff. So let's talk about on your website. Tell us about some of the things that people can access at your website.
All right. So in our website, you're going to have access really for informational purposes on what we do, the type of clients that we work with, their testimonials, right? Because we want to show social proof. We want to show what people have gone through, the struggles, because nothing happens overnight. So we want to show this, and obviously our contact information on how to really reach out to us the most efficient way. So we have various ways to get a hold of us, right? It's through text, through email, through phone. I mean, we are highly responsive. And when I say we, it's a team of myself and 6 other trainers that are specialized in specific categories. So we utilize this entire team approach to fully service the client. And that's one of the most important things, because now, again, you could be the one-stop trainer, but again, there's always something missing in each individual. So we try to bring that entire approach to make sure everyone is serviced properly.
So somebody can have a female or a male trainer.
Correct.
And I think that's all part of this mix.
Yes.
Right? Whatever that happens to be, whatever way you want to do that. And so the folks that work with you, how often do they usually work out?
With it, depending, the average tends to be about twice a week, and then I assign specific activities that they're going to do throughout the week. So that is one of the most important things, because I still want to facilitate things that they could do on their own. I don't want to be dependent always on someone they're kind of pushing them. I want that self-push, your own intrinsic motivation to actually push yourselves. So the average typically tends to be 2, and then from there we make the determination if we increase that or even decrease it based on the need of the client.
So one of the things we recognize, if you go to school, you have a teacher who shares that information, where there's an exchange of ideas, all right?
Yes.
Versus if there was no instructor, you could still go learn it, but it's going to be different.
Correct.
And you have people that can help motivate you, they care about you, they want you to succeed, because everybody wants to feel better, about themselves. Most of your clients are generally live in what area?
Most of our clients live in the Coral Gables area, also in South Miami, Pinecrest, Coconut Grove, Brickell downtown. That's typically our focus point in terms of our clientele, our footprint. That's not to say that we do service clients outside of the footprint through an online medium, right? So we have virtual training as well. There's really no excuse, because I will tell you that if we're training face to face and you go on vacation, we have a solution for that. If you are going somewhere where there's no internet connection, we have a solution for that as well. So there's always a way to get you moving, as I always say.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Omar, because years ago, the only people that were doing offsite promotions type of things were TV shows.
Yeah.
They had an audience right there,
Yes.
but their big audience was through TV, right? So in this case, right, if you want to do a Zoom type of product, you have that. If you want to, maybe you could be texting each other or FaceTime or whatever it happens to be.
Exactly.
And all those things are possible. And we see the kind of training that is going on throughout the world with you can on the what do they call it, on the that's how long it's been, on the treadmills, where you can watch that, different things.
Oh yeah. It's important you say that, because again, there's so many mediums, but you really have to know how to put these things together. For instance, and I'll give you a perfect example, and I'm sure many of you have noticed this, but really never actually, it's never really resonated. If you go to a gym, if you go anywhere where somebody's doing almost the same thing all the time, for instance, someone's on the treadmill, it's great. The treadmill is awesome. It has its benefits, but it's missing other components for a total fitness program. You see that they're on the treadmill, but they're having a hard time losing weight. What's going on? There's more than meets the eye. There's things that are missing. You see a cyclist. I love cycling, right? There's a lot of cyclists out there that are cycling day in, day out. They'll do 50 miles, they'll do 100 miles, but they're still struggling to lose weight. Why? Because there's other components to that we have to uncover. So that's why it's very important to really understand the dynamics of it. And there is a lot of moving parts. What people don't realize, there's so many moving parts to this, but it's our job to make it simple for you. We make it simple by saying, do not think, we take care of the rest, which will lead me to a very interesting story. Not too long ago, I had a prospect who became a client, and she came up to me and she goes, Omar, I'm interviewing several trainers in the area, and I have a thyroid disorder or hormonal disorder through her thyroid. And I just need to lose X amount of weight. How fast do you think I could lose it? So my answer to her was, we're going to have a lot of difficulty. It's going to be a challenge. It could take months and months even to start losing a little bit of weight. We might have to have intervention from the medical side to really start this process and the goals that you're trying to accomplish. And she looked at me and she goes, out of 10 trainers, only one gave me this specific answer, and that was you. Everybody else was like, no, you can lose it in a couple months. And if we do things right, no. There's so many moving parts behind the scenes on someone like this. This is why I always hone in understanding the individual. We need to understand somebody so well and all their components. If it's internal, medical, underlying medical conditions, and really trying to formulate that. And long and behold, she called me the next day and says, I'm going to work with you. And because I feel like you're the one that did not give me the BS answer and you gave me the reality, and let's go work with that.
So frequently, myself included, you start an exercise campaign, you start to lose some weight, you're looking pretty good, you're feeling better, and then you're still doing the same or more exercise, but all of a sudden that weight comes back. Why does that occur?
A lot of times it happens with metabolic adaptations, hormonal disbalances. If, for instance, most of us think, hey, we're going to lose weight, we're going to lower our calorie count, right? Makes sense. Lower calories, you burn more. No, it doesn't necessarily happen. Our bodies are so complex. So there's specific calories. If you're not intaking enough, your body almost goes into a slow down mode and metabolism starts to slow down. And which leads to say, intermittent fasting, isn't that a reduction of calories? No, it's not the same thing. Just understand that you need to eat a specific amount of food in order to create a thermic effect of calorie burn in order to achieve certain things. Now, at certain points, most of us hit plateaus, right? It's our homeostasis point. It's normal. I've hit plateaus many times. I know when I'm there. That's where I have to change things around. And as a fitness professional, We need to know when our clients have hit plateaus and where we need to shake the tree a little bit. Do we introduce specific supplements? Do we introduce things that will help with their fat burn? Do we introduce other things or other activities that's going to help them facilitate that?
So let's talk about people that get some injuries, sports injuries, where you get depressed, you can't move around as fast, more likely to sit a little bit longer,
Yeah.
you walk slower, don't do exercise, and then overeat. So you have both those things going on at the
Sure.
same time, which is overeating and less exercise. So how does somebody move from that point to getting better with the concern that they're going to hurt themselves again? Present company excluded, of course.
I heard about your knee issue. The most important thing is you got to build that confidence in the individual, right? So knowing that there's again many moving parts in that, and everything kind of transpires to one thing. If they're not moving, they get depressed. If they're depressed, they eat more. If they eat more, they gain weight. It's a vicious cycle. So we stop it on its track on one specific category. Number one is show them that they can do it. Motivate them and say, hey, you can go from point A to point B. Come hungry, leave hungry, right? And then they're saying, hey, I can do more. Great. We've already stopped one component of that vicious cycle. After we stop that one component, then we start increasing their activity. We increase their activity. They start to lose weight. They get motivated. They get happy. And when they get happy, they start to eat better because they see it works. So it's specific things. This is why it's so important as a fitness professional is to understand the mental aspect of exercise. It's not physical. It is 50% of it is mental. And that's where we got to tone in for those who are having difficulties.
I was watching a football game yesterday.
Yeah.
I watched these guys getting beat up, man.
Oh.
What you played sports, I assume?
Yeah.
What did you play?
I played football, high school football, baseball, high school wrestling. I did a lot of stuff in high school.
So
college is just, I went down the wrong route.
You see these guys age 20 to 30. There are a lot of people, right, that are in that range. So what is it like after getting slammed by a 240-pounder in the legs and in the chest?
Yeah, well, most of the times is obviously as you're younger, it's like you're like Gumby. I mean, if you remember Gumby, he was like this little elastic thing. I mean, it's some of the times you get hit, you just bounce and you continue going. So it's not much of a big deal. Obviously, as we age, things get a little bit different, right? We're more susceptible to injuries. But with that, things of sports of like football, there's obviously there's higher risk of concussions and things like that. I mean, for instance, I have a client who used to play football through college, and he tells me, Omar, what they did back then, today's a little bit different, but back then is like we would just butt heads, and these concussions, and we would be knocked out. I mean, it was like you didn't even know where you were, which translates to other issues later. And you know what? As a trainer, we have to understand that as well.
So one of the things that I used to box as a hobby, and I actually enjoyed a lot of it.
Okay.
When I would wear everything, right. And when I would get hit, I got those endorphins that get pumped up, and that's right. I'd wear everything, and then a couple days later, I go, why do I hurt? Right. But for that day, it was like this big high.
Right.
Right. So there is that part that gets us through that trauma. I understand the physiological function of that. But let's talk about your one of your main means of transportation.
Oh my God.
Your hyper scooter.
All right.
Tell us about that.
So I know many of you throughout here in the area through Coral Gables, South Miami, have seen some lunatic, right, flying around the streets in a scooter. Now, I decided to do this, and I bought this hyper scooter about a year and a half ago, just to get around places a lot quicker. That I didn't need to take things with me. It's just I had to go to point A to point B. So morning traffic, right? Perfect example. If I need to go to the office, if I need to go see a client, I started finding that I was getting there almost 30 minutes earlier because I was avoiding morning traffic. And I decided it was probably one of the best investments I did because it was saving a lot of time. And long behold, most people see that as, my God, this guy's crazy. What is he doing? What is that? It's freedom. When I tell you it's freedom, you wouldn't understand. You just walk out the door, jump on a scooter, literally a standing scooter, drive without.
So the board is about this long, and it's all battery.
Yeah, it's all battery powered, and it goes about 60, 70 miles. It goes fast, 50 miles an hour. And
How many?
50 miles an hour.
How many?
50.
50.
I've been clocked at 55.
All right, and then and it has a stand on it. It's a big T, and you hold on to that.
You hold on to it, lights up like a firecracker, so everybody can see it.
And the accelerator brake are on the handles.
Everything's on the handle, and it's pure electric. No.
And
drag.
how long you been driving?
Oh,
riding
about almost 2 years, year and a half, 2 years. It's amazing. It's and people say, oh, it lights up, you light up. So when you talk about it, because it's it's so different, right?
And it's
so
very
different.
quiet.
Yeah, silent. It's freedom. It's amazing. Look, I have a convertible vehicle, and I did that because I didn't want a rooftop. I wanted freedom. I wanted to feel the air hitting me as I was driving, a fun factor. This just took it to a whole nother level, and it's so efficient. So I get to see you a much quicker way than I don't have to deal with parking. I don't have to deal with anything. And that is the point on why I do that. And once people realize it, then they start inquiring, saying, hey, I think I want one of those.
That's great. Again, our guest today is Omar Cordero. Thank you very much. And you're certified master trainer.
Yep.
And people can find you at NFSIhealth.com.
Right. NFSIhealth.com. You can find me there. Feel free to send an email, any type of message with questions, right? I want to hear what's been holding you back. I want to hear what's been your challenges, and see what we can construct. There is a solution to any type of problem that you have. Just understand there's no one box or one answer to what you have. It's just a matter of listening to what you have to say and seeing what we can construct to help you and get moving you into the right direction.
And we know that the new year is coming up, but lots of people they set other goals, meaning monthly or every couple of weeks, or they say, okay, today's a Monday, I'm going to start on whatever that happens to be. So there's always opportunities to set your own goals. They can give you a call. Oscar, thank you very much
for
being here.
Great
folks,
to be
again,
here.
This is a glass right here.
Yeah.
We're
we have
extremely aware of COVID.
Social distancing, a little bit of extra protection. Why not? We need it, right? Crazy times, but we got to do all the measures we need.
Again, this is Live with Miami Community News. Our guest today is Omar Cordero. You can find him all over the internet. He's everywhere, and we're looking for in the South Miami, Coral Gables, Pinecrest, and Coconut Grove areas. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you soon. Folks, thanks for your time. See you.